been cooking all my life. I've started since all my life. I've been cooking with my grandma and my mom, and they passed down the tradition of best baking, best cooking ever. But before I enter the kitchen, my makeshift kitchen, I'm going to put my hair up because I'm all about sanitation around here, living in Troy and everything. So I'm making my favorite dish ever, and it's so easy to make. Any one of you can make it, especially if you have cooked up meat and you just are really needing to get rid of that cooked up hamburger. Then you can get rid of it pretty easily and cheap, and it tastes delicious. But I was recently diagnosed with a lactose intolerance, which actually, according to Northeast Digestive, 65% of the American population is allergic to lactose. So I'm feeding that addiction, or not really addiction, the intolerance, my personal addiction today, with a whole lot of cheese. But we're going to save that best part for last. Actually, my least favorite part of this entire dish is refried beans. I hate the smell of them. I hate the texture of them. They're really hard to work with, but they actually make the entire dish a lot easier to work with and gives it a little more volume. So this is 2 cans of refried beans. Just scoop it on there. I really don't like the texture or the taste. I would never order them in a restaurant. But they're actually the cheapest of all of the beans, and it makes this dish a lot more cost effective. We use this a lot over the summer when we have family gatherings. It's actually more of a staple for us than barbecuing or s'mores. Everybody always asks my grandma to make this. And they always ask for the recipe, even though there's only 4 layers. So I'm going to get this all smoothed out because for layer 1, we want a really strong base and foundation. Next, we add a little more boost of flavor, and that is the meat. Sorry, I got a small working space. In our meat, I usually add in my seasoning when I'm making it, but for preparation's sake and showing you how to do this, I take 1 pack of seasoning, open it up, mix it into a pound of hamburger. It gives it a really good strong flavor to block out what I think is the worst part of this, refried beans. So then I use a towel to prevent cross-contamination, not that anything could be spread from beans, just the flavor, I guess, even though there is none. And I get everything all mixed up. And since this meat's been sitting, it's a little hard, but it doesn't hurt anything. Actually, what you're going to enjoy later is in the crock pot, and it's been sitting there for a while, all cooked up nice. There isn't any hard lard in this. It's a lot easier when you cook it fresh in a skillet. So after that's mostly stirred up, I'm going to pour it in there just like the rest, the first layer. Make sure it's all smooth. Smooth it out. Actually, my favorite fact about this is, according to Spice of Life, Lawry's, if you know anything about seasoning, you know Lawry's. Lawry's was bought up by McCormick, and Lawry's was the first ever company to start a taco seasoning packet. I buy it from Aldi if I can because it's the cheapest. I'm not really a name brand gal because I prefer to save money. But we can credit Lawry's for giving us a better way to season our meats, and eventually all throughout the 1900s we've enjoyed Taco Tuesday. And I mean, it was yesterday, but I can enjoy it all time I want. Interestingly, what makes this Mexican dip different from any other Mexican dip you probably have is that instead of the sour cream and all that other stuff, we obviously use cheese, but a lot of them don't require meat. And sometimes people stray away from making a Mexican dish that has meat, especially last minute. So next, we get into the picante sauce. Now you might be wondering, why use picante sauce and not salsa? According to Masterclass, salsa and picante sauce are made with the same ingredients, they're just blended differently. Picante sauce is smoother, so that's why I use it in here. My grandma swears by picante sauce. It's not any cheaper, it's just a lot easier to use. So we want to make sure it all gets out and smooth it on, because again, we want the nice, consistent layers of Mexican. And this gives a lot of the extra flavor aside from the meat, because next we have my most favorite part, the cheese. And although I am lactose intolerant, I still love it, and I still love ice cream. Anything dairy, I can't stray away from it. It's my favorite. I grew up with it. And I think it's pretty hereditary that my entire family likes it. So of course, we're gonna use the whole bag. Smooth it out like regular, like the other layers. I prefer cheddar. Some people like to use Colby Jack on their Mexican dishes, but I think cheddar adds a really good boost of flavor, and you know I'm all about the flavor. Aside from the cheese and the meat, really, you always want to put in your prepared meat. You never want to put in raw meat into a dish like this, because aside from the cheese, everything's ready to go. If I had an oven here, we would pop it in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes to make sure everything gets all brown and gooey and delicious. But let's just pretend I'm putting it into the oven. And here's the reveal. Hold it up. So, this is here, and even though I put on a full thing of cheese, I brought you some Lactaid in case you were lactose intolerant. Thank you for cooking with Crab Gale today.